Can't see anything yet. Ah, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. We have finally managed to get on air. Thank you so much to Louise Triance and Stephen O'Donnell for Recruiter Zone so we could do this. I'm, of course, Katrina Collier. I speak, train and write about the use of social media for recruitment. And I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, Audra Knight, who is an employer branding nerd, genius, bass player, and God knows what else, loads of things. Thank you for your tolerance and putting up with us for these umpteen shows that I've had to cancel. Today, I'm super, super excited to be talking to, and obviously Audra is as well, my fellow SourceCon speaker, Jess Roberts, who's going to introduce himself because you have some news for us, don't you?
I do. So, yeah, hey, I'm Jess Roberts. I have previously been a Blizzard Entertainment employee up until today. Monday, I start at Apple, so I will be sourcing at Apple. So,
what's with Apple stealing all this stuff? All these Apple
Davis, right?
Right now, there's a lot going on.
Wow. So why is everyone going to Apple?
Because it's Apple.
They got a pretty good
Apple. Yeah, they have a decent employment brand. You know, people tend to know who you're talking about when you say, "Hey, I'm Jess from Apple," so it works out.
Yeah, I bet you get a good response rate.
More
you know, and then
it's the
funny thing about response rates is that it doesn't, like, the employer brand helps, like if it's a good, well-known employer, but honestly, you can have great response rates without the employer brand, like the big company brand. Like, there's agencies out there that have decent response rates, and it's all in the messaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is what we're going to talk about, isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm distracted for 1 minute while I'm sharing this. I'm making sure it goes to my Facebook, and it's like, I'm bored now. So talk more about that, because, you know, obviously you've heard me speak and you spoke, and we both were talking heavily about, you know, it is in the messaging. Why do you think it is that recruiters find that so incredibly hard?
I think it's because there's a lot of bad habits taught in the recruiting world. It's the reason why people still use spam is because spam works. It doesn't work as well as a personalized message, but it still works, right? Like, if you can do a mass spam campaign and get 15% response rate, right? Because realistically, that's what you're going to get, right? 10, 15, maybe 20%. People go, oh, I sent out 100 emails. I got 20 back. I'm a rock star. I've got this. And so it breeds bad practices, right? They don't think that, hey, I can spend just a few minutes more, you know, really personalizing the message, really talking about it, coming up with something witty, spend a little bit of time looking at a person's profile, finding out what they like, right? And spend just a few moments more and get 70, 80, 90% response rate. To them, it's, hey, I got 20%. I can push out paper all day long. I'm good to go.
Because aren't you getting the low-hanging fruit then? If you're getting the only 20,
And you don't think about the bad experience of those 80% that didn't respond. They might have had a really bad experience. Right. And don't want to work with you.
Yep.
Yeah, you kind of got to wonder why people reply to the spam message over the nice quality. Yeah.
Well, it's about hitting the active candidates, right? It's like when you jump on Monster, Career Builder, any of the old job boards. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. It's like you hit the guys that you just happen to time it out right. And so, in the mindset of, you know, some of these agencies out there, some of these corporate places, even, it's get out there, you know, just spam everybody, send a message to 20,000 people, and, you know, let's just get it because we need people hired today. It goes less. It's one of the reasons I'm on the sourcing side, and not just on the recruiting, because I like to be able to build up the pipeline, right? Like, I like spending a little more time working on the strategy, figuring out, okay, hey, this guy's going to be leaving in 6 months because he vets, right? Like, have a pipeline of those people ready to go, so you can take that and share the business. Hey, you know, you can open the rec today, and you have these people available. You open it in 6 months, you have these people available. Which one do you want? You know.
So how are you keeping the connection going with those people then? Because obviously then comes down to that, well, am I just doing it on a spreadsheet because I'm so busy, or you know, have you got technology you like to use to do that, or spill the beans?
Yeah. So there's a few things on the technology side that I use. You know, for back in the days with the agency side when I didn't have a huge budget and couldn't have you know, all the latest and greatest toys, I wound up using just Outlook, like really an Excel spreadsheet and Outlook with reminders, right? The better budget you have, the more tools that you have at your disposal. There are CRMs out there. Clinch does a really nice job. Avature does a really good job. You know, there's a lot of ways you can kind of keep that automated going through there, where it still feels personal, right? You can have drip campaigns set up in Avature where it still feels personal. They get some news from you. They get, you know, little reminders here and there, but it still feels personal. It doesn't feel spammy. But MailChimp, you know, up to, I think, I want to say it's 1,000, up to 1,000 users, you can actually have MailChimp for free. So there's free alternatives, right? It's just a matter of setting it up to work with whatever your process is.
So if you're then going to use something like MailChimp, which I just had the joy of using this morning to send out my blog out, what are you putting in it? I mean, are you just sending like, I'm hoping you're going to say no to this, but like, oh, here's our latest jobs, or what are you putting? I mean, Audrey would be.
That's exactly what I put in it. It's straight up. It's my hot job list. It's straight. No, I don't put that in there.
By the way, just on that one note, interrupting you fully, I love Jim's comment here. If you spam 100,000 people and 2 respond positively, then the tactic works. # sarcasm. Yeah. So hot jobs, bring it on.
Exactly. No, I think you know, you have to have relevant information. It's not, and honestly, once you have somebody in that pipeline process, like once you've established that you're not the everyday spam recruiter, right? It's information that's relevant to the industry you're working on. On the agency side, you know, have different buckets up. So if you're working on, you know, C# guys, if you're working on red team security guys, if you're working on, you know, salespeople, have your bucket set up for each one of those and make the information relevant for them. Right. You know, in the gaming industry, when we do this, we'd have gaming news come out to them, not just company specific things, but gaming in general, right? Like something that's really cool. Like, hey, this new game just got 11 million YouTube views. Why did they care about that? Because they're in the games industry. It's not about my company specifically. It's about the industry as a whole, and that's good news for the industry as a whole. You know, in the tech world,
which
you know,
shows you know your stuff, doesn't it, as well?
It does. You have to spend, and that's where that, like I said, you have to spend that little bit extra time. It's not. You know, it's not hours and hours and hours of research. It's literally just a few minutes. You can also set it up really nice to where if people have a common interest, say, you know, let's say they're Game of Thrones fans, you can tag people as Game of Thrones fans. And when you get some Game of Thrones information, bam, here's Game of Thrones. Now you're not only appealing to the business side of them, you're also appealing to the personal side. And that's been some of the best response campaigns I've had. The Game of Thrones cello cover. It's an amazing cello cover. It's just absolutely amazing. And I found a lot of people that I was working with, they liked Game of Thrones. And so I mentioned the Game of Thrones cello cover and put that in. And I've had more response off that and them going, oh, man, Jess, hey, thanks for sharing that. By the way, had a really crappy day yesterday with my boss. What's going on over here where you're at? So it's still timing, right?
Is that sort of thing where, I'm just thinking of how Audrey would do this as well. So, but that thing where you take one of those wonderful tools, like your Connectify, Social Links or whatever, Discoverly, and see that extra bit of information, and then what you're tagging them in MailChimp with that, for example, so that when you send your email campaign, you'll target those people. That's cool. Is that the sort of stuff you do then as well, Audrey, with the...
Yeah, when we have people sign up at events, they'll select what type of job they're interested in, so sales or IT or research, and then the emails will be targeted to fit them, so it makes sense. And it doesn't have to be all about all about the job, the company. It can be, if it was at a university event, we can say good luck with finals, and here's some great tips on doing well with finals. It's just like you said, it's about value, so that they like the emails and they keep the emails, and then they know your name, they know that we're hiring in our case. That type of thing.
You want to open the emails.
Yes. Yeah, because they're valuable, they're good information, and they're relevant.
Yeah, because it's funny because I'm sure you're all seeing this. LinkedIn at the moment, so I don't know how long it's been like this, but I've just only really noticed it. It's become like this little boo-hoo place where everyone goes on and, oh, I didn't have a candidate go through for interview because of Glassdoor review, or, oh, they didn't answer me. It's like, oh my God, like, how old are you people? But, you know, I honestly wonder, do people actually deserve someone's attention So it's like, okay, you just said you're going to have it easy. Now you're going to Apple. But previously, Jess, how have you sort of deserved somebody's attention?
You know, it's funny. I laugh and I say I'm going to have it easy because I go to Apple. I've worked for a lot of great brands throughout my career.
Yeah,
Blizzard is great. Yeah,
yeah,
Blizzard, amazing brand. NetApp wins best place to work. You know, Splunk, hottest startups. You know, sexiest startup that became an actual company. So I've been really fortunate to have a lot of. Yeah, Splunk. I've had the opportunity to work for some really amazing brands. But when I first started in recruiting, I worked for a company called Glowtel. And I'm sure that no one that's watching this, listening to this, has ever heard of Glowtel because it's a IT telecom contract recruiting company that's, you know, strictly agency. You have? Oh, well.
I worked for Spring, and Spring bought Glowtel.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Besides me, yeah. No, I know. Did you really? Oh my God.
Did. That was my introduction to recruiting. So they actually recruited me out of a sales role 11 years ago. So yeah, they brought me.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so Andy Baker, I'll never forget Andy Baker, CEO of Glowtel. Like when I first started, I'm coming from a sales background, right? So I've had to figure out how to make my emails get response ever since I've been in a career. So Andy Baker was like a big kid, love him to death, like totally just a big kid, complete cut up, right? He comes in and we're talking about we're talking about email methods and kind of how to get candidates engaged. And I didn't know anything about recruiting at the time. I had no clue what I was doing. It was, hey Jess, here's a phone book, here's a book of lists, here's job boards. Congratulations, you're a recruiter.
It was like that though 11 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean that was my entire introduction, right? So and it was so funny because they brought me from the sales background, so very outgoing, kind of loud personality. That'd be me. And then we hired a guy from IBM who was IBM, right? So very used to the, you know, stuffed shirt type, you know, very, very quiet, very reserved, almost the engineering side, right? Like didn't have a very outgoing personality. So the phone conversations with him and the email conversations would be, hi, I have a job. Would you like the job? Like that was it. There was no personality behind it. And so Andy comes in, big kid, and goes, nobody's going to read that. Have fun with it. Find something fun to say about it. You know, like find something fun about the company. Find something fun about that. So even from back then, right? So that was the Glowtel who didn't have really a brand. Then I branched out on my own. And I had no brand. I was starting this company from scratch, so I didn't even know how to name the stupid thing. But much less have a. Yeah, it's like let's go with TPE Staffing. What does TPE Staffing stand for? Total Top Picks Enterprises. Like I said, it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. My naming conventions have gotten much better since then in companies. You
just have to win one. I just won one.
Did you? Yeah.
I stole it off Jim, but I just say I won it. I really do.
Yeah. So you know, when I started out with that, I still had to get good response rates, right? But I didn't have the company brand. And God forbid I put the client name inside my email because then all the people I was sending out an email to would bypass me and go straight to the company, right? So it's still about having fun. And honestly, that's where the engagement comes in. You know, the question that was asked is, you know, WTH, you know, why should someone actually answer me? Yeah. First off, stop calling him a candidate.
It wasn't that. Audrey got rid of our expletive, didn't she?
WTF. WTF should a candidate answer you? There you go.
But why should they? Like, it's a busy world.
And honestly, they shouldn't. If you're calling them a candidate, they shouldn't answer you. If you have anything related to candidate in your email, they shouldn't answer you. I'm really hung up on kind of some of the terms that we use in recruiting. We use a lot of recruit speak in recruiting. Candidates, hiring managers, you know, ATS, opportunity, job rec. Like there's a lot of recruit speak that we use with each other that when we're reaching out and talking to people, we forget that they're people, right? It's not, if I get an email from somebody, do you remember the absolute best email that you've ever gotten? I don't. I know that I've gotten a lot that I've responded to. I couldn't tell you what it was exactly. Do you remember the absolute worst one? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Stands out more in your mind. So you jump on LinkedIn, to your points. You jumped on LinkedIn. You see the whining also on the side from the candidates, right? The guys that are, man, these recruiters are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. They send it this, you're a perfect fit for this job, because this is the majority of what we're seeing. Recruiters are still going with, you are a perfect fit, Katrina, for a social media branding expert at XYZ company. How did you get that? Oh, because you said social in your title.
Yeah. I love this, actually. I take it that's Matt Durran. It just says Matt. I'm assuming it is by what he's written. I got another email for a cybersecurity engineer job that I'm very qualified for just last night.
Yes.
I'd love to see you actually doing that. Oh my God, recruiter fail. Yes, Audra.
Although I think there might be a candidate one too, but the recruiter one is kind of funny for what not to do.
Yeah. But you saw when I read out Pete Radloff's email, which Audra's also saying at Recruit DC, and yeah, I'll keep using it because I freaking love it. Thank you, Pete. But people feel uncomfortable when it's that much fun and it's that personalized, and I don't get that, because you're gonna respond to it as a human being, because it's so human and it's so fun.
Yep.
Like,
I actually just had this conversation with a new recruiter. He's been doing recruiting now for about 2 months, so brand new to the recruiting industry.
Him.
Yeah, I'm like, why did you do this? But we sat down. We were going over some candidates and helping him out with building a search out, and so we found a guy. Yeah. And I'm like, well, let's do a little research, like teaching him the right way. Let's do a little research, find out a little more information. So we jump on the gentleman's profile on Facebook. We find his Facebook link. So we jump on his profile on Facebook, and he's got a cover photo on Facebook that says, "Cape, wear, fly." Right. So I'm like, all right, this guy likes heroes. Like, this guy he's got a hero thing. You scroll down through his Facebook stuff, and he doesn't have a public profile. It's mostly just available to friends. But like the public posts that he has, it's all superhero related stuff. It's stuff he shared out that's superhero related. So I'm like, okay, so this guy likes superhero. Let's play around with the subject. Hey, we may have a cape for you. Like something like that. He's like, oh no. He's like, we can't do that. I'm like,
Jess, you were meant to say urgent PHP developer required now. That's what you meant to write, right?
Right. It's like, we can't do that. And I'm like, why not? He's like, man, that seems like it's too personal. Like, it's too creepy. Like we've been stalking. I'm like, oh, by the way, you should check out this nice new tool called Stalkface. It's really awesome. It lets you stalk people on Facebook.
I was playing with that earlier. Hey, on that, note that Steve Usher, bless your cotton socks, noticed that Audra has a superhero T-shirt on.
Opportunity to wear it.
I hadn't noticed it, but I'd noticed yours. I noticed Jess's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, South Park.
I feel really bad. I have nothing. I have a sticker.
South Park, Kylo Ren. It's like we're all a bunch of nerds in recruiting. So and most of the people we talk to are too.
So what did he say? So sorry, I cut you off when you were saying about he got resistant.
Yeah, he did. So we wound up talking through it a little bit more, and I was just like, no, look, I was like, if you get an email that says, hey, urgent, lineman electrician needed, would you open the email? It's like, no, that's spam. It goes to my trash box. I'm like, yeah, there's the point. Right? Like, this guy's the same way. He's an engineer, right? So he's getting hit up by every other Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that wants to hire engineers, most of whom are going to be going, hey, I have an engineer role open. Would you like, I think you'd be a perfect fit for us. Urgent. Hired today.
Urgent.
Yeah, so.
Seriously, you just open it and go, and so what? What do I care? Like, why do I care your role's urgent? Yeah.
So he wound up, he was like, man, he's like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, just try it. He sent it off, and within 10 minutes, he got a response back from the guy that, laughing hysterically, that he actually mentioned superhero stuff. He's like, hey, I'm actually doing a superhero run at St. Jude's Hospital, and I'm dressing up as Batman. So I've got my cape. Thanks for sending it. Hey, I noticed you're a recruiter. What kind of roles are you working on? Because I told him inside the body of the email, I'm like, dude, don't talk about the role. Said, hey, just interested in having a conversation and start from there and see what happens.
Exactly.
It worked. I mean, and that's honestly my campaigns. I just finished one up that The first email I sent out had about a 42% response rate. The second email, the follow-up email behind it, had another about 50% response rate. By the time we got to the third email sent out, the overall campaign had a 94% response rate. It's being human. And not one time during those emails did I go, hey, I have a job for you. It never happened.
It's my thing, isn't it? Be human. Just hold it there. Yep. It's my last one. I'm saving it.
You haven't thrown it at someone?
No, I'm quite tempted to stick it there, but I remember to be human. I know. I had fun pegging those at people.
That was fun.
I need to get some more. Yeah, I might have pegged it actually at someone at one point, which was a bit embarrassing, but yeah.
More people need to throw stuff at audiences. Just saying.
Particularly when you're in the after lunch spot.
Yes, are you going to the next SourceCon, the fall one? Nice.
Yep.
Are you speaking or attending?
Attending.
Yay. You can chill.
Unless somebody falls off last minute again and Shannon calls me and says, hey, Jess, I got a week to go. Can you get something together for me? At which point I'll go, yes.
So had you spoken before?
No, that was my first SourceCon to speak at. So.
And you were right after me. Bless your cotton socks. I've just driven everybody crazy. That's intimidating. Bless you. You were absolutely
I pulled it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love Mrs. Roberts in the front row, though. Woohoo, she's cheering you on.
That was awesome. And managed to get a really good shot with the iPhone. Like the angle was great. So
yeah.
You need to have her do that for like all the
around me. I think mine were a bit too front on. So I move around too much. I need to get a photographer in, I think, because the phone is never fast enough for how much I'm
Get somebody with a track and just have it go, like, just follow you on the track.
Yeah, that's what I do. It's all bad. At least I have my shoes on. Hey, Jim.
There you go.
So where are you next speaking?
Next one I've got in Philadelphia for HR something. I'll have to look. It's in August. I've got that and a few webinars coming up. So yeah, I'll post them on my my HonShotFirst.co website.
So what will you be talking about? More messaging stuff?
A lot of it's going to be in messaging. Also how to how to help with sourcing and recruiting to interact more with the business. I think it's a huge topic we don't talk enough about in the industry. We get very in our own world, TA, and it's hard sometimes to realize that we have such a powerful tool at our disposal, and that is our TA departments, right? Like we have information. We're constantly gathering information for our own needs, right? For doing competitive intel, so we can know how to better recruit people. And there's just such an opportunity for the business to be involved, and for us to be involved with the business to get that information back to them. And then two, with kind of the metrics. We all have our own metrics. We all know that, I know that X number of phone screens is going to equal X number of interviews, which is going to equal X number of hires. So, and my ratios have been pretty consistent, right? So I know that if you tell me I need to hire 45 people this quarter, I know exactly how many submittals and phone screens and candidate reach outs that I need to actually get to that, so we can work backwards from the number. That's a powerful thing that you can actually give back to the business and figure out how you need to scale your TA department, all the way from the sourcing side, the research side, through the recruiting side, it just all the way across. And there's just not a lot of conversations happen around that. So when Rob McIntyre and I actually sit there at SourceCon during Levy's presentation, that's we were talking in the back of the class there about that.
Was that Rob McIntosh?
Yeah, Rob McIntosh, not McIntyre. Yeah.
My fellow Australian.
Yeah.
That's too funny. It was so funny. The more time I spent with him, the more Australian I sounded. But yeah, no, he completely agrees with all of that data side, isn't it? But how do you get the buy-in from the business to listen to you talking about that? Do you find they are interested? Same way.
Yeah, a lot of it's the same way in how you get candidates to respond to your emails, right? It's all about how you position it. Seriously, it's if you go in there with, "Hi, Mr. Business, I can save you money by doing that," no, it doesn't work, right?
Really? I thought saving money was the key to everything.
It is. It is if you already have the trust factor built up. If you don't already have the trust factor built up, they've heard it all before, right? So I think a lot of it is just having those conversations, being personal about it, like figuring out why there's a need. Why is the business? I mean, there's some companies that print gold bars in their basements, right? Like they don't need to save money. They don't care about saving money. You have to find out what the pain point is for the business. It's kind of sales 101, recruiting 101. Find out what the pain point is. Figure out if there's a solution. If there is, which most of the time there is, then figure out how to present it in a way that makes you sound human. Again, it goes back to your, be human. It's just having conversations with people.
Sounds like your sales background was really useful for recruit. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I was lucky to have a sales background before I started in recruiting. Like, and recruiting is not one of those things I was like, oh, I'm going to be a recruiter when I grow up. I had no idea, no clue. Just kind of, like most people I know don't think about recruiting as kind of a career path. So they should.
Yeah, it's tragic, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's so important, and we don't. It's bad.
Well, I think it goes back. There's such a stigma around recruiting because there have been. It's such a low bar of entry. There are so many bad recruiters. No offense to, well, actually, a lot of offense intended for you bad recruiters out there. Don't be a bad recruiter. Fix it. Fix it. To be perfectly fair, 10, 11, 20 years ago, the community side wasn't as intact as it is now. Like I can call up Levy, I can call up DaCosta, I can call up Jim. Like I can bounce ideas off people. There's a community of sharing out there available now where you can SourceCon, ERE, like these events are really about helping share and promote. And so it's not, I've heard the term, these events are cliquey. They're the exact opposite of cliquey. Like,
why do people think they're cliquey?
No, they're not. I don't know. They're actually the opposite of click. Well, I guess it's a click in the fact that it's a group of people that all want to share information. So I guess in that regard, it's clicky. It's not cutthroat.
We're clicky that we're sharing information.
Right.
But I think in comparison, compared to the agency side, and obviously I know John is listening, but he's one of the exceptions, if I'm honest. But I find the in-house crew are very collaborative compared to the agency side, and I think that's the difference. A lot of these conferences are targeted at in-house more so, and then they are much more into the sharing. And mind you, then again, Jim is also really agency-wise. Sorry, I'm multitasking again. I'm checking we haven't got any questions over here on Facebook. It's complicated.
It is. This is why for Rec Level 3 we brought in a producer now. We have a producer for our gaming podcast. That's the reason why.
Why? But no, I think, what's the REC stand for there? The Rec.
You're the first person that's asked that. It's Robert Sechenike Clayton. So our last names. And it also makes a really cool logo when you have the little recording light button going. So
Oh no, Jim, do not leave us. We'll miss
Bye, Jim.
Bless him. No, well, also because I read it and went, oh, that must be recruitment related.
No, that's a good idea though.
So Steve Usher agrees with me. Agreed that Agency Expo, particularly last year, felt really old school. It did. Yeah. I think they've got the cloak and dagger thing still going on. Our black book, let's not share. It's like, but it's all out there. Like half the world's on the internet, so.
Yeah, and I think that's where, right, like I think that's where there's not an excuse for not having the information now. I mean, there's 24 websites worth of blogs and training topics and seminars and articles. I mean, there's so much out there that you really don't have the excuse to not know the information anymore. But I mean, 10 years ago it was very cloak and dagger. I didn't really have that sounding board to bounce off. So you can, with no real formalized way of getting into recruiting, you can have a company teach you all the wrong ways to be a recruiter. We want you to send out 500 emails, just mass mail everyone, don't personalize anything, and then suddenly you have a bad recruiter. And if it works for them and they start making placements, then they're going to stick with it, right? Because it's what's working, it's what's getting their bills paid. Yeah. I don't know if there's an immediate answer. I mean, personally, I love agency recruiters. In fact, I think to be super successful in the corporate world, you should probably be an agency recruiter at some point. It's such you have the hunger, you have the passion, and bring that into a corporate environment. it really gives you an opportunity to shine, because that's where, again, low bar of entry, right? A lot of people in the corporate environment have never seen the other side. They haven't been on the agency side. They came up as a admin or a recruiting coordinator or something like that, and they just kind of progressed into being a recruiter or sourcer or whatever the taxonomy they're using is. So it's still with that, you get very, very stuck with blinders on, where you see just your company, just what's going on. You have no idea that, the industry's changing over here, and the way you communicate with people has completely changed. And I think that's where the agency side really helps, because you come in and you constantly are looking for new ways of doing things, because when you're in the agency, what worked for this client will not work for that client and will not work for that client.
That's true. I love what John's written here, so true. I think we should call it co-op, not cult.
Oh, I like that.
There are comments on Facebook as well. So thank you, Alison, Andrew, Todd, because we're all chit-chatting over on Crowdcast. So if I'm ignoring you, sorry. I can't be in two places at once. My brain won't work. And hello, Tree. Welcome. If I said that.
I have a question, Jess. So at Apple, when you're sourcing, where you're going to do the handoff to the recruiter, how does that work? Or maybe you don't know yet.
So I know what we've talked about. It remains to be seen. I'll get you more information, on that. I think it's just one of those things that with sourcing, typically the way it's worked throughout my career is the handoff happens when it needs to, right? Like there's not a right answer. There's not a wrong answer to it. It's, you have the conversation, you get the person interested, you get them qualified, right? You get to the point of presenting them to the hiring manager, CC the recruiter at that point, make sure that everybody loves everybody. And at the point you start kind of scheduling interviews, there's not really a true handoff. It's not like a marathon, right? So marathon, you hand the baton to somebody. As soon as the other person grabs that baton and starts running, bye-bye, I'm done. I'm out of the race. And the best sourcing teams I've seen, and from talking to people in the industry of them doing this much longer than I have, the handoff is more of I'm going to run with you, but I'm going to run behind, right? So it's you're kind of staying in touch, you're keeping up with stuff, because at the end of it, when that person's hired or not hired, if they're not hired, if they're still a viable candidate, but they're a B or C candidate, they were a second choice, or somebody internal came in and swooped in, sourcer needs to be there to pick that up and go, hey, let's put you over here in pipeline mode, right? Like let's keep you warm. Let's figure out if there's something else for you. If they're hired, the best competitive intel starts with your past hires. Like all the best competitive intel starts with the people you hire. The best referrals start with people that you hire. So from a sourcing standpoint, that's, again, we come in after the hire and go, hey, John, congratulations on the role. Who else can we talk to? What else? What can you tell me about? Yeah. What can you tell me about the company? What was the org chart like there? How'd you guys do bonus? I mean, there's so much information. I don't think that it's a true handoff. I think that, and it's different for every recruiter. So throughout my career, just because the sourcing and recruiting department was set up this way, there was handoffs that were different for each recruiter that I worked with. I had one recruiter, I ran pretty much the ball all the way through and pulled out when the offer was getting made. I've had some that I've handed off as soon as they were qualified, and the hiring manager said, yeah, I want to interview that person. That was the handoff, right? That was the time for me to take the step back. So I think it really depends on the relationship between recruiter and sourcer. I think it's a combination of all of it.
Going on the human thing and talking about, so when you're talking about your B and your C candidates you've not offered, what about the ones that do follow? I mean, are you going back to everybody with feedback?
Yeah. So funny thing, I actually had this conversation with the animal on the Recruiting Animal show the other week. He
well done if you went on that.
second time, and I lived through it both times. Yeah.
Man, I don't know if I'll go a second. We'll see. I might have a mad moment.
Totally should go on a second time. If you've been on once, you should totally go on again. So the conversation that happened around that is he wanted to challenge it, right? Like you can't possibly tell everyone that, they're not a fit. I think you should. I think you absolutely should. It's, and trust me, this is coming from, I'm leaving a role where I literally have had, because it's Blizzard, right? So from a consumer facing standpoint, I got emails every day from people that would never be qualified, for positions I was working on. They were, I had one guy, and we've actually stayed in touch. He was a bartender. You know, it's not, and that's all he's done, right? And so don't really have a bartender opening available, you know, and it's that you could definitely go learn some skills and come back, but you know, realistically, it's people aren't going to be a fit in that.
He froze.
I think whatever your core values are.
Oh, it's back. Sorry, we missed a sentence.
No, I was saying, I think you have to go with, you know, you have to let people know. It may not be as so in depth of a conversation. It may not be, well, you know, what happened was the hiring manager just really didn't like the way you smelled when you came to the office. That's where the problem was, is you came in, you kind of should have not went to the bar the night before. Just saying. No, you don't. That has happened before. So that's really sad.
I think Jose has a point here. He says the first time is the hardest. It is. But I think people are so, well, actually, no, you're always going to get somebody to get angry. But I think in general, people are so grateful that you respect how long they've spent coming in and interviewing. That, you know, it's the right thing to do. And if it helps them get a job down the line. So how exactly did you give the feedback on the alcoholic one?
I was actually pretty upfront with him. Sorry, that was probably not the best example, because I pretty much said, "Dude, you shouldn't have been to the bar the night before."
So what's the hardest one you've had to give?
The hardest one was the hardest one I've had to give was when somebody was actually perfectly qualified, and the hiring manager there was just not a click. Like, it was completely a personality option, and they hired somebody that wasn't as qualified. Like, usually it's, you know, we hired the most qualified person, right? And that's easier because it's, you know, we actually hired someone else, but I'm way too honest of a person. I like being transparent. And so you know, that was a tough one, because trying to figure out how to say that without putting myself in a lawsuit capability positions. That was tough. The way I handled it was, you know, basically we went through and talked about it being, you know, there was just a personality differences and, you know, cultural fit, right? Like the stuff. But it's a candidate that I stayed in touch with over the years, and actually got hired a couple of years ago at the company I was working for. So
that's good. So do you want to read the question out, Audra?
Sure. How do you prioritize your tasks as a recruiting coordinator? So if you were assigned to post jobs, interview, I think you mean sourcer maybe. If you were assigned to post jobs, interview a live candidate, or schedule interviews, or book flights, how do you know how to prioritize first?
That's a tough one, because I haven't actually worked on the coordination side. I would say it's really not that different though than what we do on a normal basis on recruiting and sourcing side though. You know, how do you prioritize sending an email versus calling a candidate back versus having an intake call versus meeting with your recruiter versus digging on Tinder and OkCupid to find profiles. I mean, it's the same thing. For me, I'm probably not the right person to answer this, because I have a probably severe case of ADHD, so I bounce everywhere all the time, and it works for me. I'm very scattered. I also have 3 monitors set up here and a laptop and an iPad, so I'm constantly multitasking, which is really bad for productivity, according to somebody. I've heard someone say that before. I haven't experienced that, but you know, I like multitasking. I think it's just, you know, put out the hot fires first, right? And work your way down. You know, if you've got a guy that you've got to book a flight. So for example, with this question, you know, booking a flight, if you've got to get a flight booked to get someone in, that would probably go pretty much toward the top of the list, because you have airfare, you have scheduling, you know, like that's probably up near the top. Posting jobs, getting the interviews set up, scheduling interviews. I mean, you can automate a lot of that. I automate most of my scheduling stuff with Calendly or freebusy.io. So I definitely would recommend that. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's absolutely amazing. I put it on my website and people can just book a call, and they just book a call.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. Whereas before, you know, there would be this sort of resistance. Now I just have these calls pop up in my diary all the time. It's brilliant.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what I do, because before I started using a calendar application, I wasted so much time going back and forth between the candidate, the hiring manager, myself and the candidate, you know, figuring out when everybody's. So now I use a calendar scheduler to keep that sane. And I have my team use it. I usually push that out to the team and like, if I've got a hiring manager, I'm like, look, let's sign you up for Calendly, so I'm not having to worry about booking your time. There's some ATSs if you're on the corporate side. JobVite actually does that really well. It's one of the few things I will ever say that JobVite does really well. But yeah, there's that.
Amen. Just started using a scheduler from Mr. Durran. Mr. Beard. I miss the beard. Yeah, no, it's really important. So do you know what the big pain point's going to be at Apple when you get there? So you were talking about solving the business's pain point. I would
probably can't talk about it.
Everyone's there for the swag, surely.
Probably can't talk about it. No, I would imagine. Damn. Yeah, I would imagine it's
top tip for finding out the pain point then.
so finding out pain points. Yeah. So what I will talk about is how I've done this in other companies and how is a good approach. So finding out what the pain point is really just digging in there, having conversations with the team that's already there or the team that's left. I've worked at a company before that's had, with me coming in, it was a relatively new TA group because the old TA group was recruiter satisfaction.
That was right. I missed that.
Yeah, straight up out. Yeah.
Jeez, the whole group.
Columbia necktie. Yeah, straight up the whole group. Top down, the entire group.
That went with
it. I'll figure out a way to put that in email subject line. It was a ECC.
Wouldn't that be funny if you opened your emails and there was noise pinging at you like that? Anyway, digressing.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
We digress. No, but they pretty much got the entire TA group because like hiring manager satisfaction was like in the 20s. So that was, I think it's the lowest I'd ever seen. And so going in, it was literally having conversations. Like the first 3-4 months I was there was literally having conversations with the hiring managers and the HRBPs and, figuring out why, first off, why was the satisfaction there? It was a pretty easy fix because it was a glaring, obvious, people were just, the hiring managers were having to do their own recruiting. The recruiting team wasn't really doing anything. They were just doing let's throw all the resumes against the wall and see what sticks. So like every single candidate that came in, they literally sent everyone to the hiring managers.
Oh, God.
No.
Yeah. So that's the 20%. I was surprised that high. So that one was easy. It was come in, figure out, what the problem was. From the recruiting problem with that, so then it's like, okay, there wasn't a recruiting team to bounce this off of and find out where they were having problems or why they were being stupid. But it actually wound up being that they were contacting, it was a pretty tapped database. Like it was, they had contacted so many people because they were best places to work company. And so everybody kind of reached out to them and, they had a lot of stuff going on. So it was just learning how to, again, it went back to messaging. How do you get, when everyone's been reached out to, how do you get those people to start replying?
So how do you get those people to reply?
Goes back to what we talked about. Goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. It's personalize your message.
Yeah.
It was literally
they been in contact with the company and not had a particularly good experience. Then I guess because of the TA team.
Yeah,
were you honest
little bit
about
of
that and kind of gone, "We're new, talk to us."
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. I my initial email to someone was like, "Hey, look, I know that you probably had a pretty rough experience here before. We have completely gutted the entire TA team and starting fresh. Would love the opportunity to have a conversation, just to fill what your pain points was." And so doing that, the first probably, I don't know, 200-300 emails at that point were just responding to listening to people complain about how bad it was, and just listening and being able to respond and taking the time to hear them out on that made a world of difference. We actually started turning it around. By the time I left that organization, it was hiring manager satisfaction was up into the 90% range. So it had changed greatly. Candidate satisfaction was good. They had actually they were working on a lot of stuff with employer branding, trying to fix a lot of their problems there. So I think it's those situations. Those are good to see. I've also seen companies that I've done some consulting with that had that same problem and it got worse and not better because they didn't want to implement let's have a personal conversation with people. They wanted to still stick with the spam way of doing things, and it just made matters worse.
And hide.
Yeah.
There is still fear. Like I do speak to a lot of, recruiters who have been doing the CV shuffling thing, who do have that fear of I have to go and talk to the business. I have to talk to candidates. I don't know what to do, which is quite extraordinary. John's got a great question, which I'll let Audra read out because Audra's in charge of questions.
Sure. Would you or do you use personal NPS measurement tools for your interaction with candidates and hiring managers?
Ooh. God, you're getting the questions today. Go, John.
Yeah.
Ooh. I have not, but I would totally be open for that.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Nice question. Love a bit of NPS, Mr. Usher.
Yeah. Wow. We just went straight into NPS tool. Yeah. No, I would be open to it because it's I'm all about measurement. I like data. I love data.
Does that mean you're going to read your speaker reviews?
I absolutely have been reading my speaker reviews.
No, I won't read them.
You don't? That's funny. And then how will you improve?
Not since the one.
People have been really nice so far, so it's not been bad.
I watched myself back. So I watched SourceCon 4.
Oh, I did that.
But
yeah, I did that. That was not good.
I made one huge mistake in there because I went, and it's Alison Cruz's LinkedIn group. No, it's freaking not. It's a Facebook group. But anyway, and I went. But other than that, no, because since that guy who wrote ridiculous from the moment she opened her mouth to the moment she finished, and honestly, I cried. Like I literally could not believe that someone could be that cruel. And I had flown myself there and put all of my energy into, and you're just going like ridiculous. Yeah. So no, I won't.
But is ridiculous that bad of a thing though, really? Like
from the moment she opened her mouth to the moment she finished ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would embrace that and be like, yeah, I was.
I was ridiculously good.
Yeah. It's all about messaging, Katrina. It's all about messaging.
Yeah, no, but I think it's also in context, actually. I had a great conversation with, sadly he's not here, Ken Ward on Wednesday night. And we're talking about it is in the context as well. So if I knew that person and I really respected them. So what if one of you guys said to me, Katrina, that was ridiculous? I'd be like, whoa, okay, what can I do? What can I improve? But I don't know who that was at all. I don't know his situation. I'm assuming it's a he, by the way, which is really bad. It just felt like it was a he. I don't know the company. I don't know the industry. I don't like truly what I said could have possibly not resonated, which is fine.
Well, I mean,
I don't care if someone says that.
His wife might have punched him in the throat or something that morning, so.
Yeah. Maybe he just hates the Australian accent. It could just be that. Anyway, whatever. I'm just saying, so I would struggle with that, but I do think it's a great idea.
No, and that's kind of like reading the hiring manager surveys, right? Like that's one of those things. To me, that's worse than reading anything about a speaking engagement survey, like the hiring managers, because those are people I'm literally working with every single day. Like, yes, like that's so when you read that and it's like, well, I don't feel that I was given a personal touch. I feel like I was a number on the wall. I'm like, oh, I hope that wasn't me. I hope it was one of my teammates.
Speaking of personal touches, so you don't use the Robert's hug.
The Robert's hug, yeah. Hashtag Robert's hug. I have not started using that in email campaigns.
Basically, yeah, I was like in the middle of Mr. and Mrs. Roberts getting hugged. It happened so many times at SourceCon. It's a thing. I can't recommend it enough.
It was a Katrina sandwich.
I thought we were talking about candidate messaging. What happened here?
So if you get a chance to hug your candidates,
Yeah.
Not in a creepy way.
Yeah. I still love that thing from SourceCon where they go, Katrina just got 600 recruiters to hug. No, I didn't. I suggested you greet each other like you hadn't seen each other in 20 years and you all hugged. I didn't actually say hug. It was cool. However,
I got accosted during that.
Going back to messaging, getting back a bit on topic, do you actually ever get your hiring managers to do the direct approach?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually been a very successful way of getting candidates in. Either by, so I've got a couple of ways of getting the hiring managers involved. One is that we do a little pre-review before we start messaging people, so that way, when I reach out, I can say, "Hey, so-and-so hiring manager suggested I connect with you," right? Or, whatever the hiring manager's name is. And then that way there's a little bit of validity in that. And yes, you can do that completely without having ever spoke to the hiring manager. I get that. but the first time that I did, the first time that I would do that would be the time where the person knows the hiring manager and knows the hiring manager hated him. So I'm too much of a chicken to try that way. The other way is I actually help the hiring managers compose the emails. We walk through, because it's, you're a hiring manager. You're not necessarily used to doing outreach emails. Some are not. Yeah. But I've helped them do the outreach email and put it together, and actually had them send it directly and CC me and introduce me in the email that, hey, we'd really like to have a conversation with you. And I take out words like phone screen. I don't talk about interviews. I don't talk about the job. It's still strictly, let's have a conversation. Keeps it very informal. That way, especially if you're sending it to passive candidates, which, all candidates are passive until they're active. So I think once you're sending that out, it really does help. And then utilizing that horrible tool that everybody likes to hate on, LinkedIn. I don't know. It's a tool. It's a tool. Don't hate on it, right? Use it. But I have hiring managers actually get off it. Personal networks. Get off it. Yeah. Don't let it be your crutch. Don't let it be your crutch. Don't let it be your crutch. No. But I have hiring managers go through their networks and message people directly through their networks. Yeah. And once they start messaging, they do the introduction to me or one of my teammates or a recruiter or whatever. So, but it does work really well. The response rates are in the high 70s, 80s every time. Because it's peer to peer. But have you also made them tar up their profiles? I have not. So if they haven't got a photo or they haven't got a headline or a... No, because most of the hiring managers I work with have that. So I haven't really had the opportunity to do that. Maybe one day I will. Do
they have stuff in their profile that says like why it's a cool company to work for and that kind of stuff though? That's pretty rare. Yeah. Most of like I said, I've been really fortunate and worked for some really cool companies that really push the employer brand side of it. In fact, that's how several of the companies, that's how I found out about them, was through, people inside. I don't know when the last time I actually applied at a company was, but it's having that out there. When I start doing research on a company, if I find out that the hiring managers didn't have that, or like the people I would be working with, or let's say at least the CEO, right, the C-level and VPs and whatever, if they don't have that in there, there's a problem, right? There needs to be something in there promoting your company. You got headhunted to Apple then, did you? I can neither confirm nor deny. So were you and Todd like starting the same day? How does that work out?
Yeah. So we actually start Monday. So we're both flying out. We're flying out and meeting up Monday. So going back to that question you won't answer, what was special about their message that caught your attention? Because you must get approached a lot. I do. I've actually I've turned down more offers since I started actually doing the corporate side. Thanks, Katrina. No, I got poached at SourceCon by Apple. So wow, that's so cool. It was knowing a person on the inside that came up to me at SourceCon. I was like, hey, we need to have a conversation. Was it after? And I don't remember. I think it was before. So, but no, it was. That's cool. I mean, that was the cool thing, is it was knowing somebody. I mean, that's how. So funny thing. So when I started at Splunk, I'll never forget when it's such a great company name. I'll never forget, because I was working at NetApp at the time. I met the gentleman that recruited me at Splunk, David Oliver. So shout out to David Oliver. He was at EMC. I was at NetApp. Huge competitors, right? Like constantly competitors. I got a call one day out of the blue from David Oliver while I was at NetApp, and he said, Jess, I need you to stop stealing all my SEs. My SE manager came up to me and told me to find out who's stealing all our SEs. I need you to stop. I'm like, yeah, winning. And so Dave and I connected, and we stayed in touch for over the years. And then one day I got a call out of the blue, and it was David Oliver, and he said, hey, how would you like to play on the same side of the field for a change? And I'm like, I'm listening. He's like, he told me about Splunk, and I was like, yeah, to work with Dave, yeah, sure, I'll join up for that. So it's the importance of networking and having that personal outreach is it's just it's good to have that, because then you make connections that stay with you throughout your entire career.
Very,
When
very
you
true.
get companies like competitors where they're laying off or having hard times, do you then kind of jump in there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's an important thing. If you've got layoffs happening, it is absolutely important. And usually I reach out to whoever the top level person is. So I start at the CEO and work my way down based on their recommendation. But I reach out and go, hey, look, I know you guys are having layoffs. We'd love to, help. If people are a fit, we'd love to help see if we could help them, move over to here. Two of my hires here at Blizzard actually came from a company that laid off pretty much the entire staff. And the way I got in touch with them was I talked to the CEO who was moving on, and he gave me a list of everybody's name and email address and phone numbers. And so I reached out and found some great people through that. So
That's
what about
cool.
coaching the people though that aren't getting laid off at that company, where they might be kind of nervous and?
Oh, I absolutely go after them. Are you kidding me? It's like I just start the conversation in a nice way. It doesn't mean I don't go after the rest of the team.
I love that. Well, we've run out of time. Oh my God, how did that happen? Just went too
Oh my
fast.
goodness.
We started on time. We're going to finish on time. We had no tech issues. This is just too amazing.
No tech issues. Right.
We either have Hannah Morgan, if she actually replies, or we have Kay Kellison. One or the other in a fortnight. We can't be next week because next week I'm training, so I'm not around, which is super exciting. Jess, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's nice.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll see you at SocialRecruiting.
Thank you. And wow, how exciting for next week. Woo! Yeah, and you can shush about SourceCon. I've got FOMO. Recruit DC FOMO. SourceCon FOMO. Source Houston last night FOMO. It's all going on. Much as I've got like 600 conferences coming up here in Europe. But anyway. But yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.